Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Taylor and today I'm going to be doing a makeup brushes for beginners, but also for maybe if you're not a beginner but you have a whole set of these makeup brushes you've bought but you actually have no idea what they're even for. Like, the hell do I do with these makeup brushes? How do I make up with these brushes? I'm here to help, and I'm going to go through the brushes that I have, what they're used for, so that maybe you can go and look at your makeup brush set and see if you've got something that's super similar that you can then know what to use it for. Cool. And I'm going to go through the brush set that I have, some other brushes that I have that I like to use as well from other sets, and basically you'll get a feel for the ones that you really need in a makeup set and maybe not so much. So I'll go through that and show you that, but if you are interested in wanting to know more about makeup brushes, keep watching. Cool. So I'm going to get straight into it. So last year I bought a whole new set of makeup brushes and I have just loved them. So I bought from the XO Beauty range. It is the Vegan Rose Gold brush set and it is a 12 pack set. So it comes with a range of 12 brushes, ranging from brushes used for your face and to your eyes, to your lips, all that kind of stuff that you need. So I'm just going to go through the basics and what is in that set, and I'll show you what they're for. So probably the most important thing in a brush set is your foundation brush. Now this is XO Beauty flat face brush and it is really good for foundation. I love it. So what I'll do is I'll put my foundation on my finger, I'll get dot all over my face where I want it to spread it around, and it's really good for buffing into the skin. So I'll just dab it around to spread it all out to give me good coverage, just to buff it into my skin, and then I can go around and just finish blending it out, and it is amazing. So even if you're just looking for a new foundation brush, I would totally recommend the XO Beauty flat face, because you can actually buy this singularly as well, and it comes in a, I think it comes in a black colour and one like this, but they all have the same purpose, and it is just amazing, and it just makes your foundation look so good, and it doesn't soak it up heaps, which is another good factor. So foundation brush, really good. Another brush that you may have in a brush set that is also can be used for foundation is what they call a paddle brush. So it's like flat, you can kind of see that, it's kind of shaped like that, and basically you do the same thing and you just blend it. It's good for blending out. Also good use for this is concealer as well. With this brush set, it's actually a dual paddle brush, so it's got your big paddle up the top, and the other side it's got a little one, and this kind of brush is what I'd probably call a concealer brush. And so if you have one, it's more of a brush that you use, yeah, for concealer, so more like liquidy surfaces, not so much powdery. So it's good for applying it underneath the eye and blending it in there, and then sometimes I will use the paddle brush just to help blend that in as well. So if you have, yeah, a small little brush like that as well in your set, that would probably, you'd use that for your concealer, putting that around where you need to conceal, under your eyes, down your nose to highlight, all that kind of shebang. So there you've got that. Next, a probably really important brush that I love is a powder brush. I love this brush because it is just so big and just so voluptuous. It's just got lots of brush hairs and it's just really soft, and I just love it for my powder. It's just so good. So if you have a big fluffy brush like this, it is for powder. So you grab your powder, let me pretend I've got my powder, boom boom boom, and you just all over your face, just dab it around. You won't be stroking it a lot down your face because you can take your foundation with it. So if you're just dabbing it, like dabs like that, you'll get better coverage and it will go around more even. So that is a really good brush. Now, another brush that you might have for powder is what they call a kabuki brush. So it's got a very short handle, but it's quite, instead of it being more rounded, it's very flat. But these ones are really good for like travelling, and I really like it. And because it's kind of flat surface, you kind of get a bit more more on the surface of your brush, you can go boom, 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 get more surface area with that. So that's another good powder brush. If you have that in your kit, that's what it's for. Next, I'm going to go for this brush. This is the Exo Beauty bronzer brush. It has got an angle to it, which is perfect for you grabbing your bronzer and contouring. So contouring down that line, you use it to contour around there, down your nose. So brush like that, you have something like that, really good, and that will be your contouring brush. Yeah, and just also you can just use it if you don't want to necessarily contour and give those harsh lines, just give it a little bit just to bring a bit of colour into your cheeks, so you're not just a blank canvas. Yeah, so it gives you a bit of dimension. Cool. Now this brush is probably, it's not a must, but I do really like this brush from the set. I use it quite a lot. This is a shimmer tulip brush. When I read it and it says shimmer, I think this is supposed to be for highlighter, but I actually don't really use it for highlighter. I use it for under eye, just because it's like shaped like a tulip. It just goes under your eye really nicely. So I use it for my under eye powder, get a bit of that, boom, 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 Bob's your uncle, voila. Now this brush probably isn't really one that you'd find if you've just bought maybe just a beginner's makeup brush kit. It won't be in there. So it's not a really big must, but I do enjoy the luxury of having this, yeah, added to my kit, so it's really nice. Right, next up, a one that I use quite a lot is, well, the thing's rubbed off in it, but this is basically your brow brush. There is another word for it, and it's gone. I can't think of it. Anyway, so, you know what I mean. Good, brushing your brows out, it's just beautiful. So if you have one of these, it's for your brows. Now this one comes with a brow applicator brush. So dip it in you have a brow powder or a brow pomade or a gel. It's good for that, and it's angled so you can get it really nice, and it can apply and shape your eyebrows really nicely. So if you have a small little brush like that, that's what it will be for eyebrows. I mean, sometimes I do use this for eyeshadow if I really want a harsh like line. I will use it as well. It's just, you know, actually, you know, like the brushes are what you make it. You can do a lot with them, and they don't have to be what they said they're for. Like, you can use them if you want to try something else and get a different texture, like, do it. There's no actual like real rules, but like these are just, you know, what they've been designed for. Right, next up in the pack, it came with a whole heap of, well, hello. Right, so in the pack, it came with a lot of eye brushes. So I'm just going to go through quickly with the eye brushes. So one that I probably use a lot is and one that I just think is a must in a makeup kit is your crease brush. Something that is kind of rounded top, because it really gets into the crease and blends that out. So something that, if you've got something that looks like this, and normally the eyeshadow brushes, you kind of know what they are because they've got a much thinner handle, to it. So that's your crease brush there. Also your crease brushes you can get thinner crease brushes. This is my first crease brush that I got from a set that I got online years ago, from like a one-day sale or something. And so it's a lot thinner, but I actually really like this because it gives it more of a thinner line, and then I can blend it out nicely, and this one gives it more of a chunkier. Both crease brushes and both work those creases really good. Next up, I've got in the kit, it has a blender brush. So this one, it's got more of what I'd say more like coarse bristles in it. Brush bristles. And so when I get my eyeshadow, it actually applies it rather pigmented, so it's not a softer, doesn't take to it and give it a soft, it gives it quite a harsh applicator, so you don't need much on this kind of blender brush. So this blender brush isn't a must, and I could definitely go without this brush. You don't really need it, but it is a nice brush for when you're blending in all of your colours together, and it is actually quite nice for just putting it in in the crease, and it kind of gives it more of a messy crease look. I kind of like it. I don't know. I'm awful at describing things, but hopefully you pick it up when I'm putting down, you know. Right, next in the eye brushes is a angled shadow, and so this is really good for obviously putting on shadow. And I like to use it actually just when I put a bit of colour on my outer eye and bringing it in. Just looks really nice, and then bringing it in. There's just like lots of different things you can do with it, and depending what colours and shadow look you're going for, you can use it in lots of different ways. And sometimes, you know, I'll just bring it, I want it above my crease, and because it's a thinner kind of brush, it can do that. It's basic, you know, it's what you make of it and what you can do with it. But that is a shadow brush, so an angled shadow brush, and that is, yeah, it does apply shadow quite nicely, and it applies it more direct to the areas with this shadow brush. It's not, but it does blend it in quite nicely. Next up is the eyeshadow. This is just the XO Beauty eyeshadow, and this is more what I'd call maybe a silicone brushy feel. It's not that like harsh kind of bristly feely to this. It's like more silicone-y. So, and what I like using this for is more like liquid or gel shimmer shadows. So especially like my ColourPop, some of those like shimmery, like really soft and creamy shadows I'd use that for, and dip, and it really applies it nicely to the lid. Works really well. Also this brush works well, so if you have a nice like glittery or a shimmery shadow just in a normal palette, so for instance I've got this Too Faced palette and it's got some nice, really nice shimmery colours here. What I'd do is I'd wet this brush. You can either use like a setting spray or literally just dip it in some water, which I'd sometimes do. If I just got a cup or something, I just dip it in a bit of water. Wetting the brush, this brush, because it's silicone, works so well. You grab this, I'm actually going to show you. So I'm just going to wet it with, this is just some makeup spray. So it's just anything that'll wet it, it just does the same thing. So just make sure it's all nice and wet. With the XO Beauty brushes, I'll show you with the Shane XO eyeshadow palette. Okay, so I'm going to pick up this middle colour here, shimmery. I'm going to pick it up with my brush, and I can already tell it's picked up so much of the pigment, and I'm going to put it right here. And that has just picked up. I don't know if you can really see. It's quite hard to see because it's like a shimmery colour, but it just makes it so much more pigmented than if you were going to pick it up with, say, a dry brush. And it doesn't have the same intensity. If you can see, I've just put another bit with a dry brush there, and that's the wet brush. It just picks up the intensity of the shimmer so much nicer, and it goes on so much more pigmented and just beautiful. So that's just a little added tip that I love to do. Right, then another eye brush that there was, and this is 11 out of the 12 pack. This is the Vegan Pencil. So it is very small, like a pencil, and it is really good for doing, if you're just wanting like a little bit of colour, or literally if you're just wanting a little bit of darken on the top of your top lash line. You don't need exact, so you're not using eyeliner, just want a bit of colour on the top. Really good for like precise workings, or you just want like literally like a line of colour up there. Perfect for that. It's just a nice little pencil brush for doing more like precise eyeshadow work. Then in the pack, the last thing that came in the pack was, I haven't used it, I haven't really taken it out of the pack. This is the eyeliner brush. Now I haven't even taken it out. It's literally so small and so thin, and use it for eyeliner, but that's more if you have like a gel eyeliner. It comes in a little bottle, you'd use that to get that sorted, but I don't, and eyeliner scares me. And it's always such a daunting thing. I'm getting better, but because practice makes perfect, but yeah. Cool, so now I'm just going to quickly go on with some other brushes that I've got from other sets. That was the Shane XO, so the XO Beauty Rose Gold Vegan Brush Pack, which you can get from XO Beauty online. It is I think $165 New Zealand. Seems pricey, but so worth it. You get everything in that pack that you need, especially if you're a beginner. Like, you get everything that you'll need. Some other brushes that I've got also from Exit Beauty. I really like them. I also got their like eye brush set. So it comes with 4 brushes, all for your eyes, and I use them for all different things. So probably my favorite out of this, and I use it all the time, is the round eye brush. It's just round, and it's just perfect for blending, and I use it all the time, especially for my first like base color on my eye. So normally like a creamier, like a white or a paler color, or just something just to give my eyelids a bit of base color to go with. So I use that, but I also use it for blending on my crease, and I use it for everything. And so it's kind of just a bit more fluffier, bigger and slightly rounded, but a bit more flat on the top. And that is just awesome. I just love it for everything. I blend in everything, and if I could just have one brush, I probably would just have this, because it does like everything. I love it. And then I've got the angled eye brush. So it's similar to the other one in the rose gold set, but this one is it's got more of a flat top. This one's a lot thinner, and this is really good. This is also, it's very similar to the brush I was just talking about, but it's just slightly angled, so it gives it a different look when you're putting your eyeshadow on. Hard to explain, but you know, if you're doing it, you kind of understand what I mean. But it's all about experimenting, really. Like, you know, there's no really, it doesn't come with a guide on how to use the eyeshadow brushes and what to use them for. You kind of like, as you practice and as you play, like you kind of learn like what brushes are best for this look, and trying to create these eyeshadow, you know, looks and stuff like that. It's just kind of like a bit of play, and you just kind of work it out and see what works for you. Because what works for me not necessarily work for your eyes, you know, like it's just personal preference, really. Cool. The next brush is the flat eye brush. I don't tend to use this one a lot, but sometimes I do, especially because it's very flat. It's called the flat eye brush, and sometimes it's good for just like literally just packing on things on the lid, just color like right there. Yeah, so that's another one. And this one here is the tapered eye brush. I really like using this for like highlighting under my brow bone, or highlighting my inner corner with a bit of color. So I will literally show you right now, because I feel like putting some on. I'm going to get a color, just a highlighting color from this Too Faced palette, put it on there, and I just pack it in. It's just perfect because it's like kind of rounded, and it just packs it in so nicely. And then putting it on top of my, highlighting my brow bone. It's just beautiful, and I really like it for that. It's just, that's really all I use this one for. You can use it for other things, but that is, I just find it's the best for that. Works amazing. Some of my must-have other brushes, and that I use all the time. This is a MAC. I think it's actually a MAC powder brush, because it's actually quite big, but it's more thin. It's not big and buffy. But I got it from MAC in an airport, and I was just like trying to use up the last of my money, and I was like, I just want a big bronzer brush. And so she found me this one, and it came with, oh, you can't kind of rub it off now, but it had like fun little flowers on the bottom. But yeah, I love using this because it's just big, especially if you're just wanting like really not precise bronzing and contouring, just like big bronzering around your face, just to give your face some colour. That's what I love using it for. Big brushes like that, perfect for bronzering as well. Right, another brand of brushes that you could go for is Real Techniques. Really good brand, and that's the brushes that I bought online and started to really get into makeup with. And I bought them off this site called iHerb, and it is so much cheaper getting it off there than going into Farmers and buying it. It's literally like, I feel like it was like even like half the price of what Farmers were selling Real Techniques for, and it was legit Real Techniques. Like, it wasn't a knockoff or anything. It's legit, guys. So another good brush that I'd like to use for contouring, so getting that precise contouring line down there with your like bronzering color to give you that really like defined cheekbone look, is this brush. I'm just gonna say it's the Real Techniques right angled contour brush. The writing's rubbed off now, And so get your bronzer, and it's really good. I kind of use it on the like the corners of it, and it just gives it a really nice defined line. Really like it. This one is the blush brush, which is really nice. It's just like nice and fluffy. Just get your blush and boom 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 boom, away you go. Yeah, this brush is an under eye setting brush. I don't really use it for that much anymore. Actually, I use this probably more for highlighting than anything now, just because it's small and you just kind of pack on the highlight and just really get that going. This is actually another look of a contour brush. It is very rounded, but it gives it actually, because it's more like pointed there, it gives it that real precise like line. It's actually a really good brush. Really like that. So one last brush that I actually love and adore and use so much is, and it is from Real Techniques, it is their like mini fan brush. So if you have one of these in your makeup pack or set, if you have a small one, I recommend using it for highlight, just because it gives it just like a sheer, and all you have to do is, and you basically fan it on, so you just go boom boom boom, and it just gives it a really nice line. It doesn't cake it on, but it gives it that really nice like just glow to your face. It looks amazing with highlighter. I love that. In an old brush set I had, it had a really big fan brush, so if you have one that's like quite big, that is actually really good for, I used to use my one for dusting off excess eyeshadow, or actually using it for contour. It's really good for contour because it's like thin and it's just a line, you just go whoo, 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 and it's just like, oh, contour, look at those cheekbones. So that is really good. And probably my last, it's not my last kind of ride or die, it's not really a brush, but it does the same thing as a brush, and that is my beauty blenders. So I have two types of beauty blenders. They both look disgusting because I haven't washed them, and I've been using them like hard out this week. This one is just a Chi beauty blender, and I love it. What I do is I'll put it underwater, normally like kind of some warm water, soak it so that it absorbs, because it's like a sponge, so it gets bigger, and then I just squeeze out the excess water, maybe put it in a towel or a paper towel, and just squeeze out the excess, even more excess water after taking it out of the tap, just so it's kind of like semi like dry to touch. And I use it for blending in my foundation and my concealer, and it works amazing. I just have been loving it because it also doesn't give any brush lines, and I don't know, it just gives a really nice finish to foundation, I've found, and it's just been my go-to at the moment. You know, as you go through phases like that. I'm going through a beauty blender foundation phase. Also, my other beauty blender I use is a Real Techniques one. Looks disgusting as fuck, but it's really good. And because it's flat top, good for blending your concealer under your eye, or I have been loving using it as for your under eye setting powder. So get your under eye setting powder, dab dab dab. Especially if it's kind of slightly damp as well, the powder will stick to it better, and then you just basically, especially if you're going to bake your eyeshadow, just go bake, 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 bake. Leave it on there for a few minutes, and then get what I'd use, maybe like a powder brush and just something big brush, and brush all the excess powder away. So I really like that, but you can use it for the same as this because it's got two ends to it, so you can use that as well, but I like this one better for that. I think that's all I wanted to share for today about brushes. I hope this has helped some of you out there to know what to do with some brushes and give you some ideas. But actually, as Hannah Montana would say, life's what you make it, but I'm gonna say the brush is what you make it. Really cliche and really smushy, but it is. It really is. Like, if you really want to, you can use this big powder brush for your foundation. Like, who's gonna know? You know, you do what you want to do and what works for you. It's your makeup, it's your face, you experiment, you do what you want to do. But these brushes, you know, I will say these brushes have been designed for a purpose, and normally if they're good brushes, they do the purpose really well. So, hope you have enjoyed this video, hope you've learned something. If you have any questions, comment down below and I'll get back to you. give this video a like, subscribe to my page, and I hopefully will see you next time on my next video. Cool, thanks. See ya.